Hi, I'm Mac Evans. You know, the Bible said, make a joyful noise unto the Lord and come before His presence with singing. Since the time of David, music has played a major role in the celebration of God's people, and today is no different. Stay tuned as Dr. Jerry Falwell welcomes our very, very special friends, the Gethsemane Quartet, and our very own Kendra Cook, to this musical edition of the Pastor's Study.
Well, this is a special, very, very special musical program today, and we have very special people here. Some of you, old as I, can remember when the Gethsemane Quartet first started on the road 38 years ago. Floyd and Penny Andrews, Bob and Jeannie Johnson once sang with them, and right now the team is Robert and Patti Griffith. And they're out there still doing it, singing the gospel, singing it effectively. They're our guests today. You'll be meeting with them, talking with them, and they're going to be singing for you. Kendra Cook is here. I really believe Kendra Cook and Sandy Patti are the two greatest soprano soloists in gospel music today.
No doubt about that.
Kendra's a graduate of Liberty University, and a lot of other special things today that I hope will keep you in the pastor's study with Mac and me these next 60 minutes. I also want to challenge you today. We've been down a little bit the last few days. I want to challenge you to dial this toll-free number and join about 10 million other persons who are now wearing a Jesus First lapel pen. This pen I've been wearing, a one like it, for the past 11 years. I want to send you 2 bronze pens free. The phone call is free. We pay for all of it. And I want you to wear that pen and give an extra one to a loved one, a spouse, a friend. And everywhere you go till Jesus comes, let the world know Jesus is first, preeminent, foremost in my life. Will you do that right now? Just go to the phones, make the call. That number works everywhere, including Hawaii, Alaska, all the states except Virginia, and of course Canada. And this number works in Virginia and in Canada, 1-804-847-9000. Mac, you're a gospel singer. How come we have a gospel music program every 2 weeks? Because you help design these programs?
Not every 2 weeks, every week.
Every week.
Out of great demand.
Great demand.
Millions of letters.
How many preaching requests do we get, Mac?
1 or 2.
1 or 2. All right, I want all of you now just to sit back for a special hour of the Gethsemane Quartet with Kendra Cook. And likewise, I want you to call, go to the phones, make the effort, pick up that telephone, and I want you to dial for your Jesus First lapel pens. And if the lines are busy, keep trying till you get through. I hope one day I'll meet you on the street corner, the shopping mall, somewhere, and you'll have your pen on. Men and women, it's a very tastefully designed pen. It isn't Baptist, it isn't Pentecostal, it isn't Catholic. It's Jesus First. Lord of my life, Lord of your life. If you're not ashamed of Him, make the call. Mac, we had a tornado watch come through Lynchburg last night. And as a matter of fact, everybody...
Right at church time.
Right at church time. And they almost stayed home to watch it. We had a few people at church, including the Gethsemane. And is this next song one they did last night?
Yes, it is. In fact, Pastor, was written by Robert Griffith. And before we meet the Gethsemane personally and talk with him on this edition of the Pastor's Study, let's listen to a beautiful song, God Himself, the Lamb.
How God in His great love could ask Him for the only Son he had. Yet when it seemed to him that all hope was dim, his faith this promise sang, God will provide himself a lamb. God will provide himself a lamb, the only sacrifice that sin demands, just as he proved to Abraham he would provide himself a lamb. Behold the Lamb, God himself the Lamb. But then the promise rang unto Bethlehem, as God reached down to man, and he gave to us the only Son he had. Then when his time had come, with his precious blood he sealed redemption's plan, and God provides himself a lamb. God will provide himself a lamb, the only sacrifice that sin demands, just as he proved to Abraham he would provide himself a lamb. Behold the Lamb, God himself the Lamb. Behold the Lamb. Behold the Lamb. Behold the Lamb of God, God himself the Lamb.
Our emphasis today, gospel music and Jesus First lapel pens. We've sent about 10 million of them out, and I want you to get 2 of them, and I'll mail them to you today. If you'll pick up the telephone, let us pay for the phone call, we pay for the pens, and these 2 bronze Jesus First lapel pens will be shipped to you immediately. Join about 10 million others, and by the grace of God, put that pen on your lapel. Let the world know Jesus is Lord in your life. Some will ask the question what that means. Then you share the plan of salvation. Give them your gospel testimony. It's a powerful witnessing tool. Join the rest of us, and just right now call and ask for the 2 lapel pens. If the line is busy, keep calling till you get through. In 1949, about the year I was born, more or less, Floyd and Penny Andrews began singing together with a quartet. Floyd, how did that all happen?
Well, I was going to this church, and the bass singer had to go to the Army. And they needed somebody to take his place, and
You were just the only thing around at the time.
so I was the only thing there, and I started singing with them.
And what church was that?
Gethsemane Baptist Church,
In Greensboro?
Greensboro.
You've been in Greensboro all your life?
Not all my life.
Where were you born?
Chatham County, down below Siler City.
That's still North Carolina for the people listening in California.
Yeah, that's right.
And that you, so they won't think you're that terribly old, you actually started singing with a quartet before you and Penny were married.
Right.
Now tell me, how did your quartet become known? You've been at it 38 years together as the Gethsemane Quartet.
Well, when we started singing and churches would invite us to revival meetings and so forth, they would just say the quartet's here from Gethsemane.
Which meant the Gethsemane Baptist Church.
Right. And the first thing you know, we had a name of the Gethsemane Quartet chair. So we just kept it.
And all these 38 years, you've been working a full-time job,
That's right.
providing your own needs with your hands, like Aquila and Priscilla and tent makers.
That's right.
How'd you work 40 hours a week all these years?
Well, most of the time it was more than 40.
More than 40. Doing what?
I worked for a steel company, Edgecombe Metals.
So you worked hard
Right.
all these years.
Right.
Now, Penny, have you also worked all these years too?
Yes, up until about 3 years ago.
And you retired, Floyd,
May the 29th.
May the 29th, and you 3 years ago.
Right.
Now, that old bus, how many miles on that bus you've got right now?
Well, we've got about 700,000 on it since we bought it. We bought it in 1970 and traveled all over the country.
You put 700,000 on it, and it probably, what model is it?
It's a 58 mile.
So it probably had about 700 before you got it, didn't it?
Right.
At least. How many buses have you owned with the quartet?
2.
2 buses. So you just keep them in good shape.
That's right.
Now Penny, did you teach Floyd how to sing?
I tried, but that's how we spent our courtship. We would sit at the piano. My father taught music, and
I
I'd play the
see.
scales, and he couldn't pitch his voice
Is
to
that
a
so?
note on the piano.
So your daddy was a music teacher. That's the reason for your love for music.
Yes, it's been my life.
And then did you meet Floyd at Gethsemane Baptist Church?
That's when we started dating. I actually knew about him all my life. I think we met maybe 3 or 4 times during our lifetime, but we started dating when we were going to Gethsemane Baptist Church.
You have a 29-year-old son, Mark, married,
Yes.
any children?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I keep hoping.
He was your only child.
Right.
And I remember when just a little boy, when you were coming to Thomas Road many years ago, you brought Mark with you. He even sang with you for a while, didn't
Yes.
he? And is he doing any singing now?
They do some. He and his wife do some singing together.
Floyd, I think the thing that's been said about Gethsemane Quartet, probably more than a lot of other quartets, is that ministry has been your main thing.
For many years, we've just been singing in churches. Now, when we started off, when Bob and Jeannie Johnson were with us, we were in the concerts, and we traveled all over the country and got old when we was young doing that, and
But churches are your thing.
churches is what we've been singing in for the last 20 years, I guess.
Well, you've been coming here with, I don't know how long, 25 or whatever years, but Dr. Lakin, B.R. Lakin, who's buried right up by the prayer chapel here, Dr. Lakin always, you were his favorites. And Penny, I really think that you had a problem. He may have been 80-some years old, but he was in love with Penny.
Oh, I know.
He let you know that, didn't he?
Right. Dr. Lakin was a dear friend. Dr. Lakin recommended us all over the country, and we sung a lot of meetings for Dr. Lakin.
You know, Floyd and Penny, I just happen to have a picture. I don't want to embarrass you here on national television, live. But this picture was taken about 30 years ago. And I want to put it up for the camera here and see if we can get a good shot of it, because in the picture with Floyd and Penny 30 years ago, notice the skinny fellow right there. That's Bob Johnson. Right above him is Jeannie. They're now down at PTL. Bob never was a good-looking fellow, was he?
No, he never was.
Never was, And He's watching this right now and really saying, look who's talking to both of us. But Bob and 30 years ago. Now, of course, Bob and Jeannie would say in this picture, they would say that they were, what, 12 or 13 there, something like that. That's a good shot there. That's Bob and Jeannie again. Earl Brewer on the front there, and of course Floyd and Penny. But notice over here, Bob and Jeannie, 30 years ago, and here I would say age 7 or 8, something like that, more or less. You've had some great times down through the years, haven't you?
We sure have.
Tell me about the greatest revival meeting that you were ever a part of.
Well, I guess some of the greatest meetings have been here at Thomas Road. Years ago, seeing a lot of people saved, and I remember many years ago when we sung about every night with you and Jim Moon and Jim Soward. I know at times we went
On the
every
road.
night in the month, and
It's, you know, I look back, we're both in our 50s. We're all three in our 50s. Excuse me, Penny.
It's all right.
But we've been at this thing a long, long time. And frankly, I can say if I had to do all over again, I would just have started younger. You feel that way about it?
I sure do. I've enjoyed every day of it. If I had my life to live over, I don't know of a thing I'd change.
You know, it's great being in Christ, and you mentioned those years when we traveled night after night all over up and down this country in little churches here and there, and preaching and singing and leading people to Christ. But I remember one special night, you were here. Dr. Lakin preached in a super conference at Thomas Road Church. This was the early 70s on John 3:16. And the church was packed, and we had hundreds of preachers there. And whenever you have North Carolina preachers in the crowd, anything can happen. I mean, it can explode. And we had a Presbyterian preacher down right on the front there who was just determined, I am not going to be blessed. And he was sitting there with his jaw gripped tight, Bible in his hand. And everybody in the building was rejoicing and weeping and laughing and crying all at the same time, but he was just sitting there just like this. And I don't know, Dr. Lakin preaching on John 3:16, and somewhere, I don't know what it was, God just touched it. And that guy took his Bible, I remember, and he threw it. And the Thomas Road ceiling is like 30 feet up. Threw that Bible straight up in the air and said, hallelujah. And Lakin turned around and said, I told you I'd get him. To me. I told you I'd get him. Well, he did get him. We've got, first of all, I want to say to all of you, if you haven't dialed yet for your Jesus First lapel pins, do it right now, right this moment. And right throughout the next song, while the lines are busy, you keep trying to get through. Get your 2 Jesus First lapel pins. That's a toll-free number, and that pin, for you, for a loved one, will tell the world, I am not ashamed to be named a Christian, to take my stand for the Lord Jesus Christ. Wear it everywhere you go. Wear it to work, wear it to play. And I just hope that today, when this program's off the air, I'll get a call saying we had the highest number of calls ever on this special gospel music program. Now, the next song, He Reached Down His Hand for Me, Floyd and Penny. Did you do that one last night? No.
Yes.
Did you? Okay. This was done last night at Thomas Road Church in the midst of a tornado watch. You and I and a few hundred people only made the Bible study last night. It was a Bible study, but amidst all those empty pews and the tornado watch, we were inside and you were inside singing, He Reached Down His Hand for Me. And frankly, I think this was Dr. Lakin's favorite, and it certainly is one of my favorites. I think it will be one of your favorites, the Gethsemane Quartet.
Once my soul was astray from the heavenly way. I was wretched and vile as the
Now, that all happened last night. That's just old-time gospel music. And in a few moments, the rest of the Gethsemane Quartet will be talking with you. Right now, I want you to dial a phone number. I want you to get 2 of these Jesus First lapel pins. I want you to wear one. I want you to give one to a spouse. I want you to do it now. Please, we pay for the phone call. We pay for the pens. We pay for the postage. All you expend is a little energy to dial that toll-free number that's on the screen right now. And we'll start these pens out your way today, and you'll get them in 3, 4, 5 days. Put the pen on, wear it everywhere as a testimony of the Lordship of Christ in your life and a means of provoking soul-winning conversations. Now remember, if you live in Virginia or in Canada, the toll-free number does not work. This number does, 1-804-847-9000. Now with all that said, keep dialing till you get through and get your pens. Robert and Patti Griffith. Now, you haven't been with the Gethsemane Quartet all 38 years, because how old are you, Robert?
30.
You're 30. Patti, I won't ask you the same question, so don't get nervous, but you, Robert, wrote the first song,
Yes,
God
sir.
Himself the Lamb, that the Gethsemane Quartet sang a few moments ago.
Right.
How long have you been in gospel music?
Well, you know, we came from a singing church. My family, I grew
What
up
church?
at the Grace Baptist Temple, St. Albans, West Virginia. And so I feel like I've been in gospel music all my life. We started singing there when I was 5, right after we were saved. My twin brother and myself.
You saved at 5?
Yes, sir.
At 5.
My mama led me to the Lord in our home. And we were baptized, I suppose, we were probably 6 or 7, because Brother Caldwell kept filling the baptistry up too high. So
And you'd be baptized the minute you walked in.
right. They go for a swim.
You say you've been singing most of your life. Have you lived in Charleston, West Virginia, all of your life, St. Albans?
Most of it. We had a time where we moved to Michigan for 4 years. Dad worked for a Ford Motor Company up there, but really that's where we're from, and we moved back.
Now, Patti, where were you born?
I was born in Pensacola, Florida, but my parents are from Mobile, Alabama.
You're a Marine brat. You're a military.
Yes.
You travel a lot.
Military.
Military.
Right.
Now, how in the world did you and Robert meet?
We met through singing. I was singing with a quartet that he came with, and after a while he found out that I was a girl, and and
How long did it take him to notice that?
a year,
Yeah.
A year?
about a year.
I thought it
Yes.
was an all-male group for about a year. All of a sudden I noticed.
Did you ask him or he asked you?
I don't remember.
But anyhow, it all worked out.
Right, it worked out fine.
I met 2 beautiful children out here named Matthew and Audrey.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How old are they?
Audra is 8 and Matthew is 9, about to be 10.
Do they sing too?
Yes, they do.
How did you connect with the Gethsemane Quartet?
I think Floyd and Penny knew about us before we knew about them, and mutual friends we recommended us, and the Lord just worked it out. We finally got together, and
A little while ago, I picked this picture up of 30 years ago, and I put it on TV, as I'm going to do again right now, to embarrass Bob and Jeannie Johnson and of course, Floyd and Penny and
Yes.
Earl Brewer. 30 years from now, there's no question Floyd and Penny will still be doing it. And somebody will hold a picture up saying, this is where this big 300-pound Robert Griffith once sang, and now and look at him there. But you enjoy it. I mean, it's a ministry for you, isn't it?
yes.
Floyd and Penny have just retired, and you're in this thing full-time also
Right.
now.
Right.
Yes.
So now the Gethsemane Quartet is available to travel anywhere, anytime. They've been sort of restricted. You have to get back in town in time for Floyd to go back to work on
Right.
Monday morning.
Right.
That's not true anymore.
That is not true.
So let me say a word to the pastors out there and the churches looking in. If you'd like the Gethsemane Quartet, 38 years in the ministry, not 1 ounce of scandal, in love with Christ all the way, soul winners, solid doctrinally. If you'd like to have this quartet in your church, you need to write me, Jerry Falwell, Lynchburg, Virginia. I'm not their agent. I'll simply pass the letter along to them. And I'm sure, no matter how small or large the church, they'll do their best to work you into their schedule. They've got a bus with 700,000 miles on it, and so that means they can go to California and to Texas and even Arkansas. They can just about go everywhere. Dr. Lakin used to say, I preached all over the United States and Arkansas.
Right.
What's the greatest service you were ever in as a gospel singer? Can you recall that?
One of them, I remember, you know, last night we sang the song, "All Hail the Power of Jesus' Name," and I remember back in, I think it was 1977, one of the first times we ever sang that song out, and I promise you it's not the way we sang it, but God really moved on that writer, and we sang in a church sandwiched down between these mountains in West Virginia, and it was supposed to be the benediction. We were singing that song, and that was it.
Came down.
And I'm telling you, nobody moved when it was over. It seemed like an eternity, you know. People were supposed
That's so
to leave.
sovereign, is you can't create that.
You can't
There's
say
nothing you
a
can do to make it happen.
And you can't say a word. I mean, there are a lot of folks who feel like that when you're in a good service that everybody's shouting and all. And I tell you what,
Place
God
went
was
stone
there.
silent, eh?
What do you say in the presence of the Lord?
When did you get saved, Patty?
I was 15.
15.
Yes.
How'd that happen?
I come from an unsaved family and never been to church. And I had a cousin who was a Christian, first Christian I had ever met. And she just kept talking about the Lord and about Jesus and what he had done for her. And I was interested, and I just knew that she had something that I didn't have. And I asked her one night, I said, well, how can I know this Jesus? And she told me.
Personal witness, so
Yes.
important. That's
Yes.
one reason I'm asking my friends everywhere, Robert and Patti, to call us on the toll-free number, 1-800-345-8095, and ask for the Jesus First lapel pins. Anything to get people asking questions about Christ and about what that pen means. And if Jesus is first in your life, how could he be first in my life? I hope you'll call right now. The call is free. We pay for it. The pens we send out to you at our expense, even the postage. All I ask you to do is wear the pen to the glory of God. Call me right now. The phones are open, and I hope you will. We'll be back in just a few moments with Kendra Cook and Mike Evans after these words.